All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping into something every single business has to deal with, a real high-stakes puzzle. I'm talking about pricing. Whether you're running a little coffee shop on the corner or you're a giant software company, this is everything. Get it right, you win. Get it wrong, well, let's just say it doesn't end well.
So let me ask you, what's the perfect price for whatever it is you sell? It's the million-dollar question, right? And it can feel like you're walking this incredibly thin tightrope with total disaster waiting on either side.
I mean, think about it. If you price too high, crickets. Nobody buys a thing. But if you price too low, you might be selling like crazy, but you're just leaving piles of cash on the table with every single transaction. You're basically giving away your profit. But what if there was a better way? A way to actually navigate this minefield? Well, there is. The answer is tucked away inside this one concept that, honestly, once you get it, it's like a secret weapon for any manager or business owner. And that weapon, it's called elasticity. Now, I know, it sounds like something from a physics textbook, but don't let the name scare you off. Just think of a rubber band, seriously. Elasticity is just a way to measure how much one thing, say customer demand, stretches when you pull on something else, like your price. And this is where it gets really useful. Elasticity is the tool that lets you stop guessing. It helps you answer those super practical, super important questions like, okay, exactly how much do we need to cut our price to get a 3.2% bump in sales? See? It takes all that theory and makes it a real, practical tool you can actually use. Okay, so let's get into it. To really get a handle on this relationship between your price, what your customers want, and most importantly, your revenue, we gotta start with the most common and, frankly, the most powerful type, own price elasticity. Yeah, own price elasticity sounds a little complicated, but all it means is this. If I change the price of my thing, how much does the demand for my thing change? That's it. Nailing this is step one to taking control of your revenue. All right, to really see this in action, let's look at an example. We're going to track the revenue for a software product at a few different prices. Now, I want you to watch really closely what happens to the total revenue as we bump up the price. Okay, so at a price of $15, the company sells 50 units. That brings in $750 in total revenue. Simple enough, right? But what happens when they decide to be a little more ambitious? Now check this out. They raise the price to $20. Now, yeah, they sell fewer units, only 40 now, but look at the total revenue. It actually goes up to $800. So that price hike, it totally paid off. So far, so good. But watch this. They push it again, up to $25. And now, the number of people buying drops off so much that the total revenue actually falls, all the way back down to $750. Whoa, that's the critical moment right there. There was a sweet spot, and they just blew right past it. So what we just saw, that's the two sides of the coin. At first, demand was inelastic. That just means customers weren't super sensitive to the price change. So hiking the price actually made them more money. But once the price got too high, demand became elastic. Customers got way more sensitive. And that same price hike made their revenue drop. So the big takeaway here is actually pretty simple and super powerful. If you know your elasticity, you know exactly what to do. If your customers are not that sensitive to price, if your demand is inelastic, you should raise your price. But if they're really sensitive, if demand is elastic, you should actually lower your price to bring in the most money. And if it's right in the middle, you're at the sweet spot, maximum revenue. Okay, but we're not done yet. Let's expand this toolkit because this idea gets even more powerful. See, elasticity isn't just about your price. It's like a pair of glasses that helps you see your place in the whole market, including what your competitors are up to. So let's picture this. You own a little grocery store. The coffee shop down the street decides to raise its prices. You happen to sell juice. Now, are those two things connected? Can you actually predict what's going to happen to your juice sales? With elasticity, you absolutely can. And this is where something called cross-price elasticity comes into play. It's a way of measuring how the demand for your product, the juice, changes when the price of another product, the coffee, changes. And the answer it gives you is really cool. It tells you if the two things are substitutes, like coffee and juice, or if they're complements, like a printer and its ink. Okay, let's actually run the numbers here from the source material. So we know from market research that the cross-price elasticity between coffee and juice is a positive 0.07. And we just heard that juice prices are about to go up by 20%. So we plug those numbers right into our little formula, and boom, there's our answer. You can expect your coffee sales to go up by 1.4%. That's it. Your competitor's price hike sends a few of their customers looking for another option, and you benefit. It's not a guess. It's a predictable, quantifiable result. All right, for this last part, let's put it all together. Let's see how a real strategist combines these different tools to make a big decision that impacts their whole business. This is where it gets really fun. So imagine you're running a restaurant. You're bringing in about $4,000 a week from hamburgers and $2,000 from sodas. Now, you've done your homework. You know your burgers have an elastic demand, meaning people are pretty sensitive about the price. You also know that sodas are strong complements. When people buy a burger, they almost always buy a soda with it. Okay, so here's the big strategic question. What happens to your total revenue, not just for burgers, for the whole restaurant, if you cut the price on your main attraction, the hamburgers, by just 1%? The answer is probably not what you think. And this is where the magic happens. That 1% price cut, it's a genius move. Why? Well, because burger demand is elastic. Cutting the price means you sell more, and your burger revenue goes up by $20. But that's not the real story. The real story is, by selling more burgers, you also sell a ton more of those high-margin sodas. That adds an extra $80 in revenue. So that tiny little price cut on one item, it adds up to a $100 gain for the whole business. So as you can see, elasticity, it's not just some dry academic word. It is a powerful, strategic way of seeing all the hidden connections that are driving your business. It turns pricing from a guessing game into a game of skill. So the real question I want to leave you with is this. Now that you have this tool, what pricing puzzles are you going to go out and solve?